our mind, our emotion, ancient Indian knowledge. Prayer also very good, but not sufficient. I am messenger of ancient Indian thought. You see, survived with Indian chapati, dal, or rice. I am son of India. My commitment, number one commitment, I am human being. Indian knowledge, over 3,000 years. Investigate our mind, our emotion. And then they also should develop method, tackle our emotion. That's practice of shamatha, practice of vipassana. Over 3,000 years. Buddha himself, you see, product of this Indian tradition. So, I carry, you see, this ancient Indian knowledge. Wherever I go, I always talk about inner peace. In order to develop inner peace, prayer also very good, but not sufficient. The Indian tradition, you see, analyze the mental function, emotion. So therefore, I usually consider messenger of ancient Indian thought. I think conventionally, I think I should carry that responsibility because I'm longest guest of Indian government. So, wherever I go, I always talk this inner value. So that's ancient Indian knowledge, Indian thought. So I consider, I always express, I am messenger of ancient Indian thought. Then, also, since now a few years, I also, you see, mentioning this physical, you see, survived with Indian chapati, dal, or rice. And then this mind, as I mentioned earlier, student of ancient Indian thought. So mentally, physically, both I'm Indian. So these days I express I'm son of India. One time I met a few journalists from Chinese, some overseas Chinese. One journalist asked me, why you stated you are son of India? It seems he thought political matter, political reason. Then I mentioned this physical survived with Indian dals and chapati. This mind, they say, full of Indian thought. Therefore, physically, mentally, I'm son of India. Then seems he understands that. So no further argument. So now, my commitment, number one commitment, I'm human being. I'm one of the 7 billion human beings. So on that level, I'm trying to sort of share how to develop inner peace. With inner peace, your health also better. Too much emotion also the problem. Too much stress, very bad for our health. So inner peace, very important. The secular way, I always see sharing with people. So that's my number one commitment. And meantime, environment issue. Now 59 years Dharamsala. 1959, I reached India, political asylum. Then 1 year I spent at Mussoorie, Birla House. Then summer 60, the government of India arranged this place, South Ashram, this place, more or less my permanent residence. Now come here. That winter, 60, lot of snow, Dharamsala, especially South Ashram area, lot of snow. Then year by year, less and less. So this is clear sign the global warming. It is really very serious matter. Usually, I sort of telling my Indian friend, we Tibet is actually supplier of water to India. Of course, Brahmaputra and the Ganges and Kasa. Indus River, all these major rivers, you see, from Tibet. So eventually, Tibet, within my lifetime also, you see, snowfall in Tibet also. Before 1959, we noticed year by year less and less snowfall. So eventually, the supplier of water to India itself now seems, I say, some great danger. Then at least the whole northern India, you see, the scarcity of water, one day it happened. So therefore, we have to take seriously about environment problem issue. That's very important. That's my number one commitment. Number two commitment is I am Buddhist. Religious harmony, one of my commitment. As I mentioned earlier, you see, killing in the name of religion is terrible. So, religious harmony possible in this country, over a billion populated nation. Religious harmony is there, not newly developed, but over 3,000 years there. So religious harmony is possible. So I fully committed promotion of religious harmony. Then third, my commitment, I'm Tibetan. I'm Dalai Lama. So Tibetan people trust me. They put all their hope on me. So I have the moral responsibility to look after them. But the political matter, since 2001, I totally, retired political responsibility. We already achieved elected political leadership, so they look after this political matter. But my sort of commitment or my responsibility is remind people the importance of Tibetan environment. Should pay more attention about environment inside Tibet. Sometimes the Chinese, you see, without concern about environment, simply, you see, making money, too much sort of deforestation, and so on, like that. Then, preservation of Tibetan knowledge, Tibetan culture. As I mentioned earlier, you see, all these ancient Indian knowledge we kept over 1,000 years through rigorous study, at least 20, 30 years study, and the root text memorize, learn by heart. Then each word explained according to commentary wrote by Indian master. Then we extensively use debate, logical way. So we kept ancient Indian knowledge alive. And with that, Tibetan language, so before Buddhism reached Tibet, and translation not start, Tibetan language is a very primitive language. Then, under the sort of advice from Nalanda master Shantarakshita, 8th century, he invited by Tibetan emperor, 8th century. Shantarakshita, at that time, the topmost scholar of Nalanda, he accepted invitation from Tibetan emperor, in spite of his old age. So he advised Tibetan emperor, since you have written language, so you should translate all these important texts, mainly in Sanskrit language. So translation started, new word created. So now finally, Tibetan language is the most closest language with Sanskrit word. So we have 300 volumes about Buddhism, all translated from, most of them, Sanskrit and some Pali, like that. So therefore, the preservation of Tibetan knowledge is actually preservation of ancient Indian knowledge. So that's my third commitment. Now fourth commitment, now related with you. Fourth commitment, since I notice ancient Indian knowledge is not only ancient knowledge, but also very relevant to today's world. Today's world, in spite highly developed material thing and through science and technology, but a lot of emotion. Today's world, I think, facing some kind of emotional crisis, I really feel. So in that, West, just to pray. Ancient Indian sort of tradition, not just pray, but thinking, analyze our emotion. If you analyze, then it becomes very clear. All destructive emotion, no proper basis, just emotion. The positive emotions, such as compassion, these sound basis. Destructive emotion, very much based on ignorance. Now scientists also now begin to realize that. For example, quantum physicists, some now begin to feel if the person who believes nothing exists as appears, if you analyze, nothing there. So those scientists who believe that, you see, their emotion, extreme sort of kasoda, zba.
Clinging to, grasping at things.
As appears. One American scientist once told me, he himself, you see, I think a few decades he worked those people who too much sort of mental stress because of anger. He found the angry person looks the person who feel to whom is feel angry. That appears very negative. But according to his finding, 90% of that negativeness is mental projection. So long anger there appears very negative. Anger less and less eventually disappear, then that appears something different. And eventually appear very nice one.